Hi, everyone. It's nice to see everyone, even though I'm not seeing anyone actually. But this is the absurdist universe that we now live in, and I hope everyone's doing okay. I see Valentina there. It's a little bit like Romper Room, where you actually see faces. You want to say, "This is who I see." Anyway, I am going to very quickly go through some of the key fall titles for us. As everyone would know, we have something like 1,300 titles in this particular fall winter omnibus. So these are truly, the big ones. I'm going to start off with what is my personal favorite book of the entire list. It is Homeland Elegies by Ayed Akhtar. It's been out for about a week and a half. I just noticed on Calvin's recent bestseller list that it has made both CALIBA bestseller lists for the Chronicle and the LA Times. I would just quickly say that this is what people would refer to as autofiction. It is a first-person narrative by Akhtar, and it's largely a book that is about his relationship with his father. Although it deals with a lot of other topics as well. A lot of it is sort of what's happened to him post 9/11. He's someone whose parents are from Pakistan, and he grew up in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and yet throughout his life he has been treated as if he is someone who is from somewhere else. It is a beautifully written meditation on the state of this country, of where we are right now. I just love this book, and like I mentioned earlier, it's really starting to sell as well too. So Homeland Elegies from Ayed Akhtar, Little Brown. Next title I have is a book by Chuck Palahniuk. This is the first novel we've ever published by him. We did an earlier book last year on writing. But this is a book that it's quite a departure really from things that he's done previously. It's really more in the horror genre. I would actually mention some books like The Alienist or The Da Vinci Code, maybe even the motion picture Seven as being sort of like titles that might resonate a little bit with what he's doing here. It's, as the author himself has described, it's the lovely bones meets the silence of the lambs. And it deals with a missing child, a questing father, and an extremely sinister villain. And the overall theme is really about the commodification of death itself. A bit grim, but nevertheless a really innovative novel from Chuck Palahniuk. This is one of our key titles of the list as well. This is Stakes is High. It's already been starred in PW. The previous book by this author was The Invisible Man. I just would mention that Michael Denzel Smith is also going to be a keynote speaker here at CALIBA on Monday, October 5th at 3:15 p.m. This is a series of essays that really goes back into the earliest times of American history when the slaves were brought over here, but brings us right up to the present moment. It's got things, ranging, more in the present tense of like Colin Kaepernick's issues with protesting the national anthem. It talks about Bernie Sanders' recent presidential campaign, the rise of AOC, and of course, a lot of things about local police departments. And unfortunately, that could not be more relevant than today. So it's an excellent book, and as mentioned, the author himself will be participating in our trade show on October 5th. Here's another one that I'm quite excited about. We Keep the Dead Close. It's coming out on November 10th. This book is by a first-time author who's written for The New Yorker in the past, named Becky Cooper. I would say that as a grad student, she heard rumor of an incident that occurred in the late 60s of another grad student, female grad student, who was murdered. And it was believed widely by the student body that more than 40 years later, the person who committed this murder was one of the professors who was still on staff even back in the early 2000 teens. So she began this investigation, and it has some really surprising aspects to it through DNA testing. They actually have been able to find out who the murderer is. Stylistically, this book is fantastic. I would just say that it is kind of in a realm of something like In Cold Blood by Truman Capote. It is that well written, really, really engaging, compelling book, and one of the books on the nonfiction side that I'm most excited about. We Keep the Dead Close. Let me see here. We've got Mediocre by Ijeoma Oluo. This is the author, by the way, of So You Want to Talk About Race? This book, by the way, is coming out in early December. For those of you who are buyers at your stores, that's an indication, by the way, it's going to be very hard for you to get this book back in. So order what you think you need. And remember, this is December. So it's going to be a big title for us. It's about the consequences of white supremacy on women, people of color, more of a subversive history of white male identity. This author, by the way, is going to be on the Buzz panel on October 7th at 2 p.m. Through CALIBA. So that's yet another coup for us in this part of the world. Hachette is doing quite a bit of work with CALIBA, so that's going to be great. So this is a big title, and you'll find out more about it if you attend that. Another key title, and by the way, the Oluo title and this book here by Lindy West, these are both Pacific Northwest authors. Shit actually is the new one by Lindy West. You probably recognize her name, hopefully, from Shrill and The Witches Are Coming. Before she wrote those two books for us, she was a film critic up in the Washington area, and was known for her very snarky movie reviews. And so this is what a lot of her original fans have been asking for us to do, is to actually publish those book reviews. And it's 50% new material though, so it's not just an old compilation. It's got a lot of new stuff. It's quite amusing, and I think a book like this, actually, considering the times that we're living in, could turn out to be a very, very hot impulse item, because we need some levity in our lives. So Shit actually from Lindy West. And here's a bit of trivia. The Oluo book, Oluo and Lindy West are actually sisters-in-law. How about that? We're moving on. The Best of Me by David Sedaris. As the title indicates, this is not a new collection by Sedaris. It's more of a literary highlight reel. It's coming out in early November. He's doing both Seth Meyers and the Drew Barrymore show on November 5th, a couple days after the publication of it. I think this is going to be a very popular gift book as well. Looks like Rick wants to say something. Or is that 1 minute, Rick? Or do you want to say something?
No, yeah, 1 minute. That's no, 1 minute.
1 minute. All right.
I'm trying to cut you out.
Yeah, it's going to circle back around to me, by the way. Rick is going to be presenting some children's titles, because we didn't do that presentation the other day. And then at the end, you'll get back to me. One more quick title here. I mentioned the new Michael Conley that a lot of people are excited about. November 10th is the pub date on this. This is a Mickey Holler's Lincoln Lawyer novel. The protagonist, the Mickey Holler character, is in jail for murder after the police pull him over, and there is a body of one of his clients in the trunk of his car. Uh-oh. So anyway, that is the premise for the book. And now I will turn it over to my esteemed colleague, Mr. Rick Cobban, to discuss some children's titles. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Tom. I'm going to start with The Little Mermaid, which we can pull up here. This is an reimagining of Hans Christian Andersen's times. The Little Mermaid doesn't give up her fins for the charming, handsome thing. It's incredibly well written, as he does, and also incredibly well illustrated, as you can see here. But This comes out on November 3rd, but it's one of our most beautiful picture books that we have.
Yeah, and my quick interjection to that is think Caldecott. I really do.
I think since it's coming out on November 3rd, this is another one that will be hard to get probably to the holidays. Next book up is Todd and Such Cults for Kids. I Love You book, the Feelings book, a child who needs a little bit of comforting, and this Joyful book, which is coming out in October, fits right into that.
And Todd is a local author, by the way.
Next book, my favorite Dan Santat, The Alphabet's Alphabet. This book is one of my favorite books on the list. It is so close to the bill for something new and different, and as I said, creative and just very interesting. I think kids are going to love it. I think adults are going to love it as well. Next up, we have The Silver Arrow by Lev Grossman. Lev is the author of the Magician series, which was a best-selling series for adults. This is his first YA book, and it's worth the wait. I think it's going to be an instant brain town with boring pencils. And her estranged uncle gives her a you must get back, to which she just jumps on it with. I think the one I read again and again. This is for 8 to 12-year-olds. Just came out about a week and a half ago, but it's fantastic. One of our best-selling authors, I'm sure you all know. This is coming out at the end of the month, and I think this one most assuredly will be as well. Chris is an incredible promoter for us and an incredible writer too. I think his imagination rivals anybody out there. But favorite authors, Rick Riordan, Tower of Nero. This is the book 5 in that series. I think this is one time I want to point some. I think some of the books in that print are just some of the best books out there. He has an incredible eye for what's well written and what's timely. The Tristan Strong books, Arusha, some of those out because I think I don't know who he is, but I also want to point out that his eye for finding new and upcoming writers is amazing. Anyway. Charles Apollo will come out on October 6th. Is the Becoming. This is best-selling authors James Patterson and Kwame Alexander partnering to write about a biography of Muhammad Ali. This has already gotten starred Kirkus, starred PW, starred Library Journal, so the reviews are incredible and pouring in. And I think this is coming October 5th. I think this is going to be a book everybody will want as well.
Yeah, I wanted to make a quick interjection about that title. I would mention that this is largely about Muhammad Ali / Cassius Clay's childhood, and he is someone who grew up in Louisville, Kentucky, which is, of course, where one of the latest Black Lives Matter / police murders of Black people just occurred. So there's a lot of focus on Louisville, Kentucky right now, and so you get to find out where he lived, which I'm pretty sure is not too far from where that particular incident occurred.
Throw it back to Tom.
Okay.
Gift books.
Yeah, I'm going to start off by talking, doing a couple of cookbooks here. This is Vivian Howard. You might recognize her from her PBS television show that's called A Chef's Life. This is her second book. Her first one was called Deep Run Roots, which was much more of a showcase of Southern cuisine. This one is really her attempt to reach a much broader audience, something that there are some, shall we say, slimmer diet dietetic kinds of recipes in this one, and it really is just, it has a little more of an East-West feel, certainly, than her first book did. So it's an attempt by us to sort of break out into a larger market and to you know, get people excited about her out here. So This Will Make It Taste Good by Vivian Howard. That's coming on October 20th, by the way. And then another cookbook coming out in late October. It's been, I know, my best-selling cookbook of the season, The Rise by Marcus Samuelsson. He has a PBS show as well called No Passport Required. It's a celebration of Black cooking and more than 150 recipes. That should be a really big, popular title, I would think. How much time do I have, by the way? Well,
Got about 4 minutes. Okay.
All right. I'm going to discuss one of my favorite categories, which is music. I'm going to start off with this book. It's a memoir by Peter Frampton. I'm assuming that most people know who Peter Frampton is, but certainly for people who remember and were alive during the summer of 1976, he was the biggest artist on earth. It was a really surprising event at the time because he had had 3 or 4 solo albums that had never sold. And then he brought out a double live record called Frampton Comes Alive, and it was enormous. It ended up selling more than 10 million copies. He was an instant superstar. And yet, within a couple of years, Peter Frampton disappeared again. This is him basically talking about that entire situation, you know, kind of rising up as a young, phenomenal guitar player for a band called Humble Pie, becoming a solo artist, becoming huge, and then disappearing. And, you know, final little postscript on Frampton here is that he is now suffering from a degenerative muscular disease. He's still playing music, though, and in fact had a blues album that came out last year, but apparently he's going to be losing his ability to play music fairly soon. And what a shame that we're living in the middle of a pandemic. But nevertheless, an extremely likable, charismatic artist, and I think it's going to be a big title for us. Coming out on October 20th. A couple of biggies here, and by biggies I mean in physical size and also in price. Queen, All the Songs. Now this is part of that series that we've been doing for a while now. These are the backstories of every single song by a given artist. In this case, it's Queen. We've also done the Beatles, we've done the Rolling Stones, we've done Led Zeppelin, we've done Pink Floyd. So this is going to be a big one. It contains a lot of photographs, by the way, that are previously unseen, along with this great text of each of the songs. So it's for the ultimate fan, you know, good gift for a mom or a dad, you know, who are big fans of this. And then along with that, at a slightly higher price point, even though it's technically part of the same series, is one on Springsteen here. The reason why is it's actually a different imprint. This is really more of an import. It's for $60 versus the $50 of the Queen book, but it's the same basic idea. And Springsteen, by the way, has a new album coming out, I think next month. I'm going to very quickly do a little bit of science fiction here. I'm going to mention this book here, Bone Shard Daughter, that just came out. This is a debut novel, the beginning of what will probably be a trilogy. This author was part of that Orbit panel that CALIBA hosted a few weeks back, so you can actually hear Andrea Stewart talk a bit more. She's also a Southern California author, by the way. And it's you know, it's epic fantasy, dealing with a young woman who should be the heir apparent to the throne, but she has a malevolent father who is preventing her from doing so. There's a lot of intrigue, and there's something called the Bone Shard that basically creates these kind of mystical powers and allows certain kinds of leaders to dominate over other people. It's getting a lot of press for us. Mentioned just very quickly, we also have this new book coming out by a Davis, California, Northern California author, the great Kim Stanley Robinson, Ministry for the Future. You know, this book is dealing a lot with climate change, which should not be that much of a surprise for people who are fans of Kim Stanley Robinson. He's always had a very strong ecological, environmental aspect to what he does. This one is sort of a series of eyewitness accounts. It reminded me a little bit of John Brunner with, I think it was called The Sheep Look Up. And then also even the novels, if you want to get a little bit more literary, into like John Dos Passos with the USA trilogy. So it sort of bounces around through the consciousness of various characters, focusing though on a very near future where people are dealing and coping with issues of global warming, as if we weren't already. Thank you so much for listening, and I hope everyone's doing well out there. Take care of yourself, and yes, Black Lives Matter.